Hi everyone, my name is Herkeph and welcome back to my incredibly stupid hardcore world where I am only allowed to use wooden tools and leather armor. To start off today's episode, I wanted to collect every armor trim available in the game. We had already gotten the rarest armor trim in last week's episode, so the only ones left we had to collect was the final armor trim from Archaeology, the Vex armor trim from a woodland mansion, as well as the Tide armor trim, which we would have to conquer an ocean monument for. I started off by getting myself a cartographer in order to buy a map to a woodland mansion. I then flew off on today's adventure. After a while, I managed to find the mansion and proceeded with utmost care to not get absolutely donked on. But even when being rather careful, I managed to get myself cornered, which almost cost me my entire hardcore world. Though luckily, I had several totems of undying, so I did survive. So I ran in once more and looted my first chest, which miraculously had the Vex armor trim I was after. I then decided to go for Archaeology, since I am afraid of conflict and almost died in the woodland mansion, and decided to look in the taiga biomes near our base. And before long, I managed to find myself my second ever trail ruins. I then disrespected the Minecraft ancestors until I got what I wanted. And eventually, I did manage to acquire the last armor trim from Archaeology we needed to complete our collection. I then flew home to put it in a safe space and headed off once more, this time in the search of an ocean monument. And quite conveniently, we had actually found an ocean monument in our very first episode, so I simply flew to the one we had already found. I then went on to slaughter the 3 Elder Guardians, but for some reason, the game decided to make my life hard and didn't give me my armor trim. So I had to set off to find yet another ocean monument. So I flew off once more, and like seemingly every time I go out on an adventure, I stumbled across yet another pillager outpost. And this one had carved pumpkins, which I, of course, decided to steal. I also grabbed their goat horn, and shortly after we started exploring again, I stumbled upon another ocean monument. So I dove in with great haste and killed off the Elder Guardians once more. And this time, we actually got the armor trim we were after, and whilst we were at our second ocean monument, I also decided to steal all of the sponge I could find. The reason why I decided to grab the sponge was because my plan for today's episode is to build a guardian farm. There are a few different projects where I would like to use prismarine, and since I don't particularly feel like completely decimating several ocean monuments, I thought it would make sense to build a farm. I decided to start constructing a circle of 128 blocks diameter at the first ocean monument we ever found. And this was, just like every other time I've built a circle, not very thrilling. But I decided to use gravel to build the circle, as I simply had loads of gravel laying around. I then used a piston to build walls of gravel inside of the circle we had built. This was probably one of the most boring and mundane things to do in a game with a primary focus on entertainment. But I did manage to get quite a lot done, but ran into a rather annoying problem. We had completely run out of gravel. This meant that I had 2 options. Either I could go and mine sand in the desert right next to our guardian farm, or we could go and waste a bunch of time AFK at our gold farm. Since I am a rather stupid and lazy young man, I decided to do the latter, and after a very long AFK session, I had managed to get a somewhat decent amount of gravel, so I headed back to the overworld to continue draining our ocean monument. However, once I stepped back into the overworld, I was greeted by an absolute army of zombie pigmen. I am not entirely sure how they spawned on the nether roof, but I decided to not question it. And whilst we were at our base, I thought it would be a great idea to make ourselves some potions, as that would make the process of placing gravel a bit easier. So I brewed myself a few cold ones to help me with my appearance and headed off once again to partake in some additional gravel placing. and after a lot of gravel placing, I realized that in order to build all of the gravel walls, we would need an absolutely stupid amount of gravel. And since the gravel walls are meant to be temporary, I decided it would be wise to start draining the areas that we had ready to then repurpose the gravel. So I started using the sponge that we had acquired to drain the strips of water we had prepared. I also set up a nether portal so we could quickly dry out our sponges. And this is where things went wrong, because I was using my offhand to place the sponges in the nether. I had forgotten to use a totem of undying. This was a fact that I was unaware of when placing some dirt in our water strips, and this led to our very unfortunate, and honestly, rather anticlimactic death. I am honestly at a loss for words. It's actually quite a shame, since I had just come up with a few things we could do in this world, some of which I was rather excited to get on with. But this is it. Thank you all very much for watching me struggle to survive in this incredibly stupid hardcore world. I hope you've enjoyed the ride as much as I have. And now I can't help but to look back at what we have done in this world and actually be kind of proud that we managed to survive for more than 1,000 in-game days in this incredibly stupid hardcore world. I also think that this has been the most fun that I have had playing Minecraft in a very long time, so my initial plan from here is probably to go for attempt number 2. Please let me know of your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.